Media and persons requesting notification. And then need you to approve meeting notes from the last meeting back in September.
A motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And no public comments for the subcommittee meeting, and we'll jump right into reconsidering the Red Top Park project. Just a quick reminder, Red Top is located right here, just inside of the urban growth boundary. Off of Old Charleston Road. The green triangle shows the general area. And then there's a parcel map over to your right, highlighted in green. It's about 3.3 acres of upland and 6.1 acres in total. So they did resubmit the application with some considerable updates, and I'm going to run through some updated project info here. So the new request is for $805,000, 6.1 acres, fee simple acquisition in the urban unincorporated area. The breakdown is $580,000 for land, $211,000 for minor improvements, and $14,000 for admin. The match is increased from 0 up to 50, I think it was 51%, $411,500. The match does represent funds that have not been secured yet, but they have applied for $100,000 through the State Conservation Bank, $100,000 for another grant, and then they're working with Charleston County Parks and Rec Commission to help fund some of the balance, that $211,500, and if it's not fully funded by PRC, they'll continue fundraising, and there's also some in-kind match in there as well. The intended use for the property is for a community park, which is what it has been used for decades. They do have a lease with the school district, who's the owner of the property, and that lease expires in August of 2027. One thing to remember with this project is if you do recommend approval, the allocation it should come from, or one that it could come from, is the urban unincorporated. That is currently forward spent by just over $4.2 million. So if this were to be approved, it would put it in the hole just over $5 million, which would mean that there would be $1.8 million left projected lifetime for the urban unincorporated. I think the other option for you would be the small landowner program. That currently only has $55,520 in there. So if you were recommending small landowner program funds, it would also need to come with a recommendation on how to refund the small landowner program. As a reminder, that was funded in a one-time allocation from the rural funds over a decade ago.
Eric?
Yes, sir.
How much is in the rural funds right now?
I need one of those tables.
Yeah, assume that we do have a number of projects though, right?
We do. I can give you the full breakdown.
And maybe a follow-up to that, Eric, is do you know what the amount that was funded to the small landowner program from the rural about a decade ago? Like what that total was?
That was $1.2 million. So right now, and you may, I don't know if you guys have the tables up there or not, and we'll run through this at the full GAB meeting. But rural funds currently on hand is $20.6 million. The total requested this cycle is just under $11.4 million. So if all of the rural projects that are in this cycle are approved, that would leave just under $9.3 million left in rural for the winter cycle, and then come July 1st, new funding's allocated for the new budget year. Did that answer all the questions, or did I miss one?
Did you mention about the school district?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. Yes, sir.
And while we're on this slide right here, is there any idea if the Conservation Board looked at this application favorably yet, or when is that going to happen?
I have to defer to Sam on that one. Do you know when? Yeah, if you don't mind, so we can get the recording. Just maybe an update on the 2 grant applications.
Yeah, so Conservation Bank application is due October 31st. So we've had preliminary discussions. The goal of this park is to be on the South Carolina Rosenwald School Trail. So it has a statewide trail. So, positive talks on funding for that. And, from my experience, bringing with the level of match we'll be bringing to the Conservation Bank, it should be fully funded. In terms of the other asks, the Conservation Alliance is a private funding source that I applied to last fall for the Beefield project, a very similar project here at the Beefield community. And so, yeah, I won't be finding out that until early December on whether or not we've acquired that funding. And so, yeah, that's the status on those two applications.
Can we define what's the minor improvements?
I've got that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Next slide.
And then, so the school district has agreed to the price of $680,000.
That's correct. They, following an executive session last month,
Yeah, maybe October. Yeah,
or earlier
late
this
September,
month,
early October. Yeah.
they did approve the school district's real estate manager to move forward with the deal for $680,000, which is what the appraisal, which was one of those three items. And when you all deferred it, said bring three things back and we'll reconsider it. One of those was the appraisal, so that was for $680,000. We do have a letter of intent from the real estate manager for the school district stating that they are intending to sell to the Red Top Improvement Association. And then PRC, as you know, has gotten involved as well as Low Country Land Trust. Should have mentioned that up front, but Low Country is assisting the community with the application and closing and due diligence and all of that, as well as the Parks and Recreation Commission. And they were able to come up with a budget for the minor improvements. And the ones that would be eligible under our funding are the Marsh Boardwalk, gravel drive and parking, ADA gravel path, and machine mulching and grading for those trails and driveway areas, and then a wetland and tree survey totaling $211,000. Just one other thing I wanted to note is the score the first time through was pretty low. I think it was a 43. Staff didn't go through it in enough detail to fully score it. But just with a brief scan, we expect that score would rise to about 70, right around 70 right now. Of course, that's not an official score. Your score is the official score. We just didn't have time to get that out to you for scoring in advance. But we're looking at 9 additional points for match, most likely more points for partnerships now that they have 2 partners, as well as increased capacity and experience to manage projects, which is 5 points in the scoring criteria as well.
And so who's going to manage it?
So Low Country Land Trust will be the applicant. It'll be follow the small landowner program. Just you probably saw recently in the news the Rutledge Tomb closed. So Sam will be the lead on closing with the school district and going through all of our due diligence. And then once they have closed, it would then be transferred over to the community shortly thereafter for their management. But Sam may be able to speak a little more on that. I know they're going to be involved throughout the process.
Yeah, so this, essentially, when we do these community projects, we do simultaneous closings. So it'll be we'll have pre-done the assignment assumption agreement with the grant agreement. Low Country Land Trust will close on the property. We'll handle all the closing, all the due diligence, phase 1, title insurance, everything like that. And then we'll close and do a simultaneous closing and transfer it immediately to the Red Top Improvement Association.
So the association will be responsible for making these minor improvements?
Yeah. So in court, Adam Mernon, we've spoken with Adam Mernon, and we did a site visit from Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission. Obviously, they'll have the funds to hire, private contractors to do the work and everything, as well as there's some collaboration with the Parks and Recreation Commission on planning and things like that, as well as For example, the $100,000 for the Conservation Alliance for Beefield, we're able to hire a private firm, Biohabitats, to do master planning and things like that. So there'll be opportunity for that. Just one note.
Real quick, just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so will your organization be contracting that, or will the Improvement Association?
Red Top will be doing that, yeah. And I just, one thing to note, the community Red Top Improvement Association, they've been managing the property since 2007. So it's been mowed. They have a building there that they manage. It's well maintained. They've demonstrated more than enough capacity to continue the management and operation of the park.
And I hate to keep asking, I'm just trying to, if we're going to approve this with the 200,000 in improvements, just trying to figure out, do we track that then to say?
Yes, sir.
So you'll track to see when they,
So,
okay.
so we actually don't, they don't get those funds up front. That comes through as reimbursement. So either they're going to pay the contractor and submit invoices to us, or once the work's done, either way, we're going to go out. Chris will do a site visit, ensure all the improvements were made as they should have been, check invoices, make sure the billing's all correct, and then we would either reimburse Red Top or pay that contractor directly after the work's been done.
And the school, what do you call this, the state program that, one of the grants? Rosenwald. Yeah, thanks, sorry about that.
Yeah.
And so what strings come with that?
I wouldn't say there's any strings attached to it. So essentially, Conservation Voters of South Carolina have been working. I think Earthworks is the name of the firm that have been doing the planning. Essentially a statewide trail similar to the kind of Reconstruction Era network that they're putting together out of Beaufort, and kind of establishing these parks. It's more so recognition and acknowledgement and getting them on the existing. So Lincolnville is an example where they have the Rosenwald School up in Lincolnville. There's other schools throughout the state, and so kind of creating this network of parks. And they'll be collaborating with them, but I don't believe there's any strings attached or requirements to do that. Essentially, it'll be the park as it is, but including them in that network, and then having interpretation on the park about the history of the site and the history of the school there.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
All in favor?
We'll also need a recommendation, or just to clarify where you are recommending the funds come from, whether that's
Well, that's a
additional
good point.
forward spending on the urban unincorporated or small landowner, which would then need to be funded.
Now, one more question. On the matched funding, would that come back to us, the 200,000? The match, on the match, 200,000, right?
That would not come to us, no, sir. That would be
Towards
funds that they're
improvements?
putting towards
Improvements.
acquisition, 100,000 for acquisition, and then the balance towards
Okay.
improvements.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Can I amend my second? Is that legit?
I think the original motion would need to be amended.
I'm happy to amend my motion if you'd like. Tell me what you want.
I would suggest pulling it one time from rural.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not going to amend my motion.
What's your thought then?
It is located fairly close to the urban growth boundary. We have funded projects just across the line in the urban area in the spirit of shoring up the urban growth boundary. If you were to fund it from rural, I think it's best if that actually goes to the small landowner program, and just kind of keeping with our rules with them
That's
being.
what I meant. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I meant fund it one time for small landowner from rural, but it could also be, Taylor, to talk this out, it also could be pro rata. The three options, it could be pro rata from all, it could be rural, or we could just forward spend it. So I'd probably second any one of those.
So if we did it from the small landowner, it would basically be forward spending that until we could then.
No.
Or could we get that all done right now?
Yeah, if you do it through small landowner, then you would also need to recommend either funding that from urban or rural or
Got it.
equal shares of both.
I'd like pro rata for all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd amend my motion just for approval with pro rata
So
funding
that-
of the urban unincorporated for, to take care of the balance, what works for you.
Just for this, correct? Just enough to cover this.
Yeah.
You want to say it one more time?
Okay. Make a motion to approve, as submitted, funding by pro rata from all the different accounts to cover the shortfall for this particular project only.
For the small landowner program. Got it.
You know, whatever, all right, if you want a landowner, that's,
Yeah. And pro rata would mean not exactly 50-50, because remember, the rural area gets 70% of the first allocation, so we would have to do some math there, but it would be slightly more from the rural area based off of that 70-30 split from the first half penny.
Is that all right, Taylor?
funds from the, we still have funds from that?
It's a much smaller amount than the second
I
half
think we
penny,
went
but
50/50, didn't we?
the second one was 50-50. Yes, sir.
Okay. But it shouldn't be more than $400,000. Somewhere around
It'd
about.
be slightly more than that from rural.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Ayes have it.
All right.
Thank you.
Done.
That's it. Take a 10-minute
Yeah, that's
break
too
and
much
start
brain
up the full meeting.
That was too much brain work first thing.
So basically,
Just so they're all upstairs, different meetings on
they don't
YouTube.
get them, it's just, it's